So if you haven't heard me talk about it already, and I went into this a little bit on the HSP to ADHD rabbit hole video that I've talked about it, I think not extensively, but at least to some extent in other videos and podcast episodes, how my journey for this whole neurodivergent thing started with a self-diagnosis. And I've always felt that one of the reasons I didn't fully pursue the diagnosis was because I didn't want to take up space in a place that I maybe didn't belong to, or that I wasn't really a part of. So, yeah, I had a lot of people pleasing and imposter syndrome and rejection sensitive dysphoria issues going on before I had the language to identify what they actually were. So I just wanted to do this video on imposter syndrome and self-diagnosis and, what if you're actually right? So in case you don't know me already, I am Corey. I am a neurodivergent mom, late diagnosed, and someone who self-identified for quite some time before I even had that professional diagnosis. And I still questioned it even after I got that diagnosis. I still asked, am I making this up? And I still wondered, is it valid if no one official told me? So let's talk about self-diagnosis, imposter syndrome, and how to really start trusting yourself again and trusting your intuition. So for many neurodivergent women, and especially moms, self-diagnosis isn't about convenience. It's about survival. Because when the systems are undereducated and dismissive and expensive, quite honestly, there becomes this bias against late diagnosed women and people of color. So then we go looking for the answers ourselves, and we find them in books, in podcasts like mine, in Instagram, on Reddit, and in Reels, and we start connecting the dots, and suddenly our whole lives start to make sense. And even when those signs are clear, imposter syndrome still shows up like this ugly little beast and whispers things like, maybe I'm just lazy, or what if I'm co-opting an identity, or other people have it worse. If any of that sounds familiar, that's not the truth. That is internalized ableism and years of not being believed. We question ourselves because we've been questioned our whole lives. And that self-trust, that muscle takes some time to rebuild. So here's what helped me hold both. I let myself believe my lived experience, even when the doubt whispered. I found stories that matched mine, and I gave myself the language before anyone gave me permission. And then eventually, I got the official diagnosis. And as I've explained elsewhere, my reasoning for getting the official diagnosis was so that I could get myself the support and tools needed beyond what I could give myself, beyond learning somatic exercises and beyond incorporating things like DBT, CET, and EFT, beyond those things that I could do for myself. For example, if I ever needed to be on medication, I knew that I needed to have a diagnosis to get on medication, because you can't exactly write yourself a script for that kind of thing. You could, but you're going to get into a lot of legal trouble. And like I said, it was just beyond those things that I could provide for myself. So that was why, the primary reason why, anyway, that I ended up seeking a diagnosis, because I'm past the point of needing a 504 plan. I'm not in school anymore. If I needed accommodations for college or anything like that, I know how to advocate for myself and to speak out. I'm not afraid to do that anymore. And I work for myself. I work from home. I have a part-time job as well. So I don't need workplace accommodations that I could have used my diagnosis to support and justify. So for me, it wasn't about that. For others, yes, that is why you seek a diagnosis. It's to get those things in place that you can't do for yourself or that you can't get for yourself. And here's the other thing is that you don't always need a diagnosis in order to put those things in place. It's just that having a diagnosis on paper may make it a little bit easier for you, and it may also be necessary to get things like workplace accommodations or school accommodations. And so, all that to say, that is why I got my diagnosis. But even then, like walking into that virtually, I already knew. And I had already come home to myself. I had already come to terms with the fact that, yes, this is what I have, this being ADHD. And I walked out of my diagnosis with the bonus of autism's was okay. I wasn't quite prepared for that one, but here we go. So here's the thing. You are allowed to explore your identity. You're allowed to say that explains so freaking much. And you're allowed to grieve, process, and celebrate, all without a laminated PDF or follow-up document from a specialist. Self-diagnosis doesn't mean that you're guessing. It means that you're listening to your intuition. And this isn't a world that trains neurodivergent people to question their reality. That, my friend, is radical. So if you've been spinning in doubt, download the ADHD Mom Guilt Cycle Guide or go check out my Imposter Syndrome Guide. They both will help you process, and the ADHD Mom Guilt Cycle Guide, even if you aren't a mom, it'll help because it has nervous system scripts and reframes to help you rebuild your self-trust. And if you're looking for a space where you are believed before you even finish your sentence, PRC is that space. You are welcome fully as you are. And I want to leave you with this. You're not imagining it, you're remembering it, and you're reclaiming it. And that is the first step to rewriting it.